Do you want to just briefly explain what Codex is?
Yeah, Codex Alimentarius is a name that's been cooked up to put people off looking at it. It's a Latin name. All it means is the food book. That's it, the food book. Normally, well, as soon as, I don't know about anybody else who's tried this, but as soon as I mention Codex Alimentarius to people, they're like, what? And you can see immediately they're like, this is something complicated I don't want to hear about. And I think that's perhaps one of the reasons a Latin name was chosen for this rather unusual kind of document. So the Codex Alimentarius is a set of guidelines for the handling, the processing and the trade of food. So everything from how it should be stored, how it should be treated, what its criteria should be. So for example, we in this country we've had a lot about straight bananas and oranges that are only a certain percentage green and these sort of things, and we thought this was all Brussels being very anal about things, but it turns out that that now doesn't look like it's the case. It now looks like it was Brussels actually making itself Codex compliant. So it applies to everything. All food is covered in there in one way or another.
And why is that so important? Why does it matter if there are certain straightness? How does this affect us? How does it affect my diet? And how does diet affect my well-being?
It doesn't necessarily affect your diet immediately, but the implications are to do with how the food is treated to meet those guidelines. So that's one thing first of all, and if that involves a large use of pesticides, fertilizers and other forms of food treatment, then that has a massive effect on your diet and your health and your well-being, because these are all chemicals and your body does not know what to do with chemicals. So every time you take in these pesticides, these fertilizers, which are on all the food that you have, your body has to work to get rid of them. Any work it's devoting to handling your food means it's not work, it means it's resource taken up that can't be applied to fighting any other illness or any other bacteria or toxins you come into encounter with on a day-to-day basis. It's what is supposed to be the fuel for your body to then fight these things becomes a toxin in itself, basically. Obviously not massive levels, but it can potentially be massive levels if the food is also irradiated and further treated with hormones or whatever other sort of chemical horrors.
What's irradiation?
Irradiation is the when food is treated with radiation to basically either preserve it or to kill. Well, it's not really for preservation, but it's to kill bacteria, bugs, molds, and any other little hidden microbes that might be in the food. So that obviously has a safety element attached to it. There's a reason why they've done that, to do with, bacteria in food that might be coming from countries that don't have strict regulations. But the problem with food irradiation is that you look at what happens to a human when you give it radiation. What happens is your cells start to die. What happens with food is the same thing. The enzymes in it, which are the life force in the food, which are partly one of the major fuels for your body. We've all been distracted to look at purely nutrient. Nutrients are like the building blocks that your body can use that are in food. So when we're looking at our proteins, carbs, all that sort of stuff. But the other side of food is enzymes, which is the living element of the food. And our body needs those enzymes as well. For example, lactose intolerant people, there is actually a bacteria in milk which allows lactose intolerant people to drink milk because it destroys lactose. But that's only if they drink raw milk, which hasn't been pasteurised. The pasteurisation process, which heats the milk, kills the enzymes, which then means we're vulnerable to the effects of the lactose and whatever else might be in it, the pus and things like that.
You can't buy raw milk though, can you, in this country?
You're not allowed to, no. You've got to. The only place you can do it is at the farm gate or through somebody you know who happens to own a cow or a goat.
Why is that?
I believe it's to do with bugs and bacteria and illness and things like that.
So there is something in it that it's
Oh
not...
yeah, there is. But it's where we've thrown the baby out with the bathwater and we've kind of massively generalised with something. One of the reasons milk has had to be pasteurised isn't because of illness from drinking milk. It's to do with pus in milk, and it's pus in milk from, and other bacteria in milk from sick cows, because the dairy cows are so over farmed, and the constant addition of these pipes onto the teats creates disease in them. And there's a percentage of milk that we drink that if you buy it from a standard supermarket or shop or whatever, if you get a big jug of milk, that's not just from one cow, that's lots of cows' milk all mixed together. And there's a fair percentage of that, I can't remember what the percentage is, but it's actually pus and other yuck, basically. And the pasteurisation process, which, sorry, is different from irradiation, I know we deviated there, but the pasteurisation process kills off the dangerous or harmful bacteria that's in the pus, therefore making it safe to drink. So that's kind of the reason behind it, but it means that we lose out on all the benefits of all the living enzymes that are in milk or in other products that we eat, which we then kill basically by cooking and other treatment. It's an interesting thing how we have managed to be conditioned into, we're the only species on the planet that continues to consume its infant food in adulthood, and we're also the only species which happens to take that infant food from another species, and somehow we've managed to convince ourselves that this is normal and healthy and good for us. I think that's a bigger problem than just solely the calcium issue. But things like sesame seeds contain 3 times as much calcium as milk. You can easily get milk out of calcium seeds just by, sorry, not calcium seeds, out of sesame seeds just by blending them up in some water and straining them. You've got some perfectly healthy sesame milk there, which is not from another species. It's full of living enzymes. It's loaded with calcium. There's no real, to go to a bovine for calcium from its milk is, you've got to be the long way for a shortcut.